Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, if you suffer from migraines, you're going to want to listen up. We're going to talk about a rare medical condition that may impact many more people than doctors ever imagined. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, millions of Americans suffer from migraines, and many of them are just taking aspirin every day, Tylenol, a cocktail of medicine to try and cure this. But there's a rare medical condition that we're going to talk about today with Sheena Sharapata. She is with marketing events for Randall Reed Ford. And you glow, but for many years you were masking a pain that the world didn't know about. Tell us about the condition.
Yeah, so basically I grew up playing soccer and had 8 concussions from played competitively. And towards the end of everything, I actually started getting vertigo, some blurred vision. My whole arm would kind of tingle and go numb and made its way into the nose, tongue, teeth, and a ice pick pain to the eye. And then when I went to the doctor, basically all my imaging was clear. And they told me that I had migraines with aura. And as I got into my 20s, I started getting some additional symptoms that we can cover, and turned out that it was called trigeminal neuralgia, which is misdiagnosed, it appears, by many doctors.
When did you first hear that term?
Oh, gosh. So I ended up in my 20s getting some worse symptoms. And I had crazy pressure in my head. It felt like I had this like vice around it, that my eyes were going to pop out, and ringing in my ears. I had little floaters in my vision, horrid nerve pain here. I would just kind of push right here and at the base of my neck, and it would feel really tight. And about 2 years ago, I actually started getting little zaps in my eye and stabbing pain in my ear. So I went back in locally here in Dallas, and all my imaging was clear again. And thank goodness my parents came to my appointment, and my mom actually said, my sister has trigeminal neuralgia. Can we rule that out?
Wow. How did so many doctors miss this?
Well, typical trigeminal neuralgia, which you've got 12 cranial nerves in your head, and your 5th nerve runs like this. And if you have a blood vessel that's sitting on your nerve, that's what's known as trigeminal neuralgia. And if you Google this, it says you have nerve pain in your teeth, shocks in your teeth. You can't even touch your face because it is such electrifying pain. And it's known as the suicide disease. And I didn't have any of those symptoms. I never had the teeth pain, and I never had the sensitivity. So if you actually go to a doctor and say, you know, I want to be checked for trigeminal neuralgia, if you don't have teeth pain, then you're just dismissed by a lot of people.
Now, you went in for surgery, and we've got some pictures, and boy, that looks like a intense surgery. Did you experience instant relief?
Yes, so basically the surgery, it's called a microvascular decompression, which is known as a MVD. And right here behind your ear, they do this tiny little circle of a hole, and they go in and actually put Teflon spacers between the blood vessel and nerve so they don't touch each other. And I had 2 spacers on put in here. And then I actually found out I was bilateral and had the same procedure done on the other side. And apparently only 2% of people have it, and that was me. And instantly for me, the shocks were gone, but obviously through healing, I had some shocks and some nerve pain that would be here and there, but that's typical.
What was it like to wake up without pain for the first time in your life?
The biggest thing for me was the pressure. I even went to several eye doctors thinking I had something wrong because the pressure in my eyes, they felt like they were going to literally like pop out of my head. And then that huge vice. So waking up and having no pressure, it was just like this relief. And a lot of anxiety and depression actually comes with this. Trigeminal neuralgia is known as the suicide disease. So it's like once that pressure is alleviated off that nerve, you just have this calmness over you. So almost to just feel relaxed. I mean, I can't even, after living that way, that was my normal.
And you were telling me before we went on that no one at Randall Reed knew. You were just kind of the tough little soldier who went in, even if you were in excruciating pain. But now you're on a mission to educate the world because you're convinced that a lot of people who have migraines may want to get this checked out.
Yes. So everyone at work, they knew I'd have headaches at times, but, I just kind of toughed it out, and I was taking BC powder, 3 of those a day, and eventually I got on rizatriptan, which I would take at night, and then we do a lot of events for veterans and first responders, so that basically would push me to keep going, and once I got those events done, I would go home and just sleep and crash and, just tried to make it through to do work. But now I'm starting to see, I've been posting my whole story on social, and all these people are reaching out, and it's saying that they have my different symptoms. And my coworker, who's a Marine veteran, actually heard me talking one day because I felt like I had something moving right here in my temple. And he goes, I have those symptoms. What's wrong with you? And he got the imaging, and he has it, and he got the surgery.
Wow. I applaud you. I get goosebumps when I hear your story because I think you're saving so many lives, and doctors are good people, but they can miss stuff. So tell us about you've been sending a lot of business to a particular neurosurgeon.
Yes. So I got very blessed when I went through this whole process. I basically Googled, and this first doctor, Dr. Lim, came up, and that's where I had sent all of my imaging to. And he was able to find the one place touching, which they call a compression, where the blood vessels on the nerve, on each side. And then he actually, after they placed the Teflon, looks for additional compressions. And I had another major one on each side. So he's at Stanford in California, and he's the head chair of neurosurgery there. And the difference with him, he openly talks about God and doing God's work. And that just lined up with everything with people crossing my path. And he just is so caring and compassionate. So we're just known that when we go to these doctors, a lot of times they don't listen to you, and you're meant to feel that you're crazy. And when you finally get that validation through him looking at the imaging and saying, yes, you have a compression, you're a candidate for surgery, that's everything.
So do they have to fly to California, or they could get imaging locally and then send him the pictures?
Yeah, so what they do is you can actually reach out to them, and then they'll set up a virtual consult, and then you're able to get the local imaging and then upload it to a link directly to them. And then they're able to access the imaging and then do that Zoom and then be able to tell you if you do have that compression and if you're a candidate for the surgery.
How many people have you saved so far?
Oh, gosh. It's all a God thing is all I can say. Every day people keep crossing my paths, and now I have friends tagging me in posts on Facebook. So I've sent over 100 people.
That's amazing to me. More than 100 people. And,
yes.
and I mean, you may be the only person on the planet who's beating this drum and telling the world, hey, listen, this is serious, and my life has been greatly improved by getting it checked out, and you can too.
Yes.
So the person watching right now, we got about a minute left. That's your camera there on the right. So, talk to the person with the migraines who is saying, wow, I wonder if this is me.
Yes. The biggest symptom that you can have is if you start getting little zaps. People call them a zap, a spark, an electric shock. If you're getting those in your eye or in your ear, any stabbing pain, definitely reach out and see. And getting an MRI or a Fiesta MRI and getting that to Dr. Lim. My cousin actually went to a hospital and said, my cousin has this, my mom has this. They read her imaging as negative, and when she sent that to Dr. Lim, he found 2 places touching, and she had surgery as well. So many are not educated in reading the imaging or these other symptoms, and you have to be your biggest advocate in this.
We're going to put up the contact information and leave it on the screen for just a little bit so people can copy it. But does it run in families?
So there's nothing typically or technically linking everything, but obviously me, my cousin, my aunt all have this. And then there's several other girls, we call each other warriors, and we have the MVD surgery. And several of them have multiple people in their families. So it appears that there's this possibly a hereditary component, and that a lot of people, it stays dormant. And then when you have that trauma of a car accident, a concussion, root canal, tooth pulled, that's what's flaring everything.
Wow. Well, I'm so proud of you for shouting it from the rooftops right now. And
I try.
Not keeping this the best kept secret ever. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I appreciate this, as it's considered this rare, disorder. And there's a lot of us now getting surgery and like shouting from the mountaintops. So we're hoping we can just continue to impact and help people out there.
Outstanding. Sheena Sharapata, thank you for coming into the studio.
Thank you.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.